Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about intelligence. So, we're going to just talk some general advice on how you as an individual can become more intelligent. And yes, I'm adjusting my hair. I constantly have some weird obsession with touching my poofs, which is probably due to my low IQ. It's fun, it's fluffy, and I like to play with it. That could be interpreted very oddly by some. But anyways, point I'm trying to make today. How are you going to get smarter? And how dumb are you actually? Because if you think you're stupid, the reality is you might be smarter than the people that think that they're smart. The number one rule to knowing that you are a fool is actually the fact that you are not a fool because you want to become more intelligent. You want to acquire more knowledge because you know that knowledge is power. Power for your circumstance and power for your mind. So what's the plan, my people? How are you personally going to find yourself with more knowledge? Personally, I do not believe in the conceptualization of IQ being finite, although it is just a measurement of brain function with a series of variables. So obviously that is more finite than just the collection of knowledge. But I have to tell you, even if you're considered to have a significantly low IQ, I have to point out, it doesn't mean anything. You can still learn, like, it does mean things. I'm not trying to be weird. But it doesn't mean that you cannot learn more or get more intelligent. It just means that you have a limitation in comparison to maybe somebody else. I'm a little bit ignorant in regards to intelligence. I've never paid that much attention to it because I was always treated like an idiot when I grew up, and I've gotten smarter over the years, so I don't know who else can't. But obviously there are limitations. But let's say you as the individual are endeavoring to get smart, or, get smarter. Not be as much of a fool as you otherwise have been in the past. Well, there's some more measurable forms of intelligence that is acquired through reading, through learning, through mathematics, through science, physics, literature. And then there are other forms of things like street smarts and stuff. Today we're not going to be talking about street smarts, because let's just be honest, we should know more about that just in general. They're based on the location, your current circumstances, if you're a girl, if you're a guy, if you're short or you're tall, if you're small or you're big. Your street smarts are going to change based on the individual, whereas intelligence scales on the mind. And the mind is indiscriminate, I have to say. The mind, unless truly damned, is indiscriminate of a body. Which is why I personally encourage everybody to grow intelligence more than anything else. Wisdom and power, and it's so ironic because my name is Sage, and it means wise, so I have to tell you, that's comical. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make to you people is, learning. Learning's important. So the number one thing I have to promote to you is to start reading if you don't read. It can be anything. Online articles with information, that's a bonus, because then you have also the information of the online articles in your head, while you also develop a speedier ability to read fast, which means you can absorb more information faster. The faster you can read and comprehend what you're reading, the faster you can acquire more knowledge, and therefore more power, which is why I do encourage reading. The question is, what are you going to read? Now, I personally don't think that you need to discriminate in this regard. It's whatever you want to read. It can be online articles, it can be, it can be things like online articles by all means, but it can also be things like, just fun little fairy tales, literature, it can be comic books if you want to do something like a comic book. Maybe you're interested in art, so you'd find it would be a double whammy for your artistic capabilities. It doesn't have to just be that you're reading something and then acquiring the knowledge. Sometimes getting to take a look in a book will give you wonderful ideas for creative endeavors, which can also propel you further into the scope of learning things and getting more knowledge. It can also be philosophy or religion or something. If you're interested in it, then read it, because these compositions of literature are also incredibly complex and can be interpreted in a multitude of ways, which can allow you to think in multiple different directions. That's the value of things like philosophy and religion. There's a level of interpretation, not usually 100% subjectivity, but interpretation for the individual reading it, that can help you think in more ways than one. Sometimes reading a little bit of this, that, and the other can make your brain kind of work its motherboard. And then you also have things on the basis of practicality, how-tos, information, things that you can learn. Some of my favorite books are things like C++, which I actually do need to learn. I don't know it yet. I'm not well-versed. I know a little bit, but not enough. And, things like, or things like this big, thick booty of a book, Upgrading and Repairing PCs, the 22nd edition. Still haven't read the entirety of this. Oops, there goes my bookmark. But, this thing, she's a beast. And, oh goodness, her joyousness is definitely soon to be released into my mind. You can learn about computer parts in here, the history of IBM. You can learn about so many wonderful things, Flash and removing storage. Like, you can do so many wonderful things with this book. I need to get this information because I need to become more technologically advanced. And sure, this might be the 22nd edition. It might be outdated, but it's not outdated enough to not teach me a few things about some hardware. And that's just reading. Maybe you don't want to read. Maybe you like playing your mind and your hand. Well, there are other ways you can do it. Personally, I think that art and drawing and painting is a form of intelligence. I think it takes a level of skill, muscle memory, and comprehension. But I know some people are kind of about those kinds of things, but in general, just doing anything that works your mind, learning how to sketch, learning how to draw, learning angles, learning creative things, it does help you expand and elaborate on what you yourself can do, which is very empowering, and it can make you try other things as well, which can make you even more intelligent. So I do not discourage the concepts of making projects. Practicality is just as intelligent as knowing things. If you know how to create something like a sword right over there, or some art, or, how to do woodwork or metalwork or anything, or create jewelry, or whatever you're passionate about, create dresses, cooking and baking, chocolate making, candlestick taking, I don't know, just learning whatever. As long as you have practical skills that you're acquiring, it's just as beneficial and can actually propel you further than just knowledge as well. Knowledge is practical. That's why we like it. We like knowledge because it can help us apply ourselves practically in our environments, but if you already have practical skills, that also can help you very much because it still is a form of knowledge that you need to operate with such skills. And then there's other options like writing and math. Things that make you think, things that make you have to understand foundations. Math and science are more, finite and very practical. Or maybe not finite is the best word, but math is very, written and do. And it helps, again, work your mind. Do math. Like, legit, do math. There's tons of online sources on how you can do math. And if you want to just get smart or speed up your brain, maybe you don't want to read, but math can be equally as beneficial for you as an individual to start acquiring more knowledge, to start understanding how things work mathematically. And you can expand yourself very, very far, and maybe you become passionate about it and want to become like a mathematician or something. It's not just, for the sake of being smarter. It's also so that you have these skills for the future. As a server, my thing is, I would rather not have to pull out my phone to pull out a calculator or find a calculator somewhere in the restaurant to learn how to split a bill. The better thing I find is if I can split a bill in my head. It saves me tons and tons of seconds. It's time that I can do something else with. It's important. So again, like even in just the workplace where I'm still stuck at the workplace the same amount of time, I'd rather not spend that time trying to find a calculator so that I can do basic mathematics, basic division, than to just be able to do it and then move on with a different task. I don't want to be delayed. The other thing is not just even math. It might be writing. Maybe you're passionate about writing. You can learn all kinds of new words online. Learn how to write with these words. Learn the definitions of all these words. Take a dictionary out. Scan through the dictionary. Find words you've never seen before. Look up words online that you've never heard of before and try and memorize all of the little things, all of these different words. That's another wonderful way you can accrue knowledge. It's another wonderful way you can design your mind to be exactly how you want it to be. Your mind is malleable. It's like a sponge. You can literally soak it with whatever. Sometimes I like to soak mine with booze and candy. And other times I like to soak mine with a little bit of C++ or maybe just a good book, But either way, or maybe internet drama. But, either way, we all find that we need more knowledge. And even if we don't feel like that, then I think we still need more knowledge. I don't feel like we can never not learn anything or that we are done learning. As humans, we should always advance ourselves until we can no longer advance, until we are literally stopped. And the best thing about knowledge is it never stops. There's always something you can learn. Another thing could be a skill like piano playing or something, or playing an instruments, or languages. Learning languages if you're passionate about language, learning different languages or instruments. Again, it plays your mind. It plays your voice. It plays your tongue. It plays all kinds of things. Singing, learning a sport as well is very important. Physical strength is important. Learning how to be strong is also a form of knowledge. Learning how to lift weights can help you learn, how to build muscle, things like that. Or learning how to do a sport can help you advance in that sport, make your life happier, but also gives you good muscle memory and also can help educate you. Dance is another one. We can keep spitballing ideas, but every single skill you learn can help teach you something. And every single thing that you know can help give you more skills. So again, either way, you're going to learn something. The most important thing is learning. And I feel like when we're younger, we're told we have to learn things, and we're always pushed to learn. But there's a certain point where a lot of us, we aren't told anymore to learn. And sometimes it's a blessing because we didn't want to learn these things when we were younger. It wasn't necessary information. So we don't want to learn anything more now. We hated when we were learning things we didn't want to learn. So we were not passionate about it. So now we have no desire to learn anything. We just want to get on with our day and hope that things work out. But the other thing is, even if we loved learning at the time, we needed somebody to push us to learn, you know? Everybody, in my opinion, goes to school to learn, but it's because they also feel like they can't learn on their own. They have to go to school for it, you know? And it makes sense because for 12 to 13 years, you're in school and you're forced to be in school. You're told to be in school. I know I had very bad skipping of school, thank God, because I don't think I could have handled that much schooling. I won't lie, I'm not particularly inclined. But you go through so much school up until high school, and when you complete high school, you usually feel the pressure and the fear and the indecision, and then you end up going to college for maybe something that you're not passionate about at all, and you hate it. And then you feel even more discouraged because you've wasted money and you feel like an idiot still. And that's truly a curse. But even so, like, maybe you want to learn how to make more money. Maybe you want to learn how to invest. Maybe you want to learn how to learn a system or a skill so that you can make a ton of money and get rich. And maybe you just want to learn how to con people. I personally don't encourage such. I think it's a bad idea to try and take money from the naive or the people that are more manipulatable, or to try and manipulate people yourself. But like, you know, bypassing all of that stuff, like, I personally think you should try and appeal to a good level of morality. I know morality is subjective and we all try and throw things this way and the other and give double standards and all of these kinds of things, but I just think it's good to not do bad to others. But there's a threshold where we stop learning, we stop trying to learn, you know, we stop endeavoring to learn skills. And maybe it's just stagnation and eventually everybody gets back on the bandwagon. But there are people I know that they've just given up on learning, and now they're just kind of in the endless loop. They work their job, they go home, they play video games, or they drink, or they, you know, smoke a little something, or they do a little something, or whatever the case is, or they just do whatever, and they stop learning, you know, they stop trying to learn. They kind of appeal to futility and give up because they're in the life loop, and this is life. And, you know, it just sucks because you can't expand yourself outward if you don't endeavor to learn anything new. And you can't really do anything with yourself if, you know, you're doing the same thing over and over again. That's just going to be your life. And I don't believe in that being the definition of insanity where, oh, you know, it's doing the same thing over and over again. But that's the definition of monotony, and that gets boring. So even living a less boring life, you want to learn something new. It's exciting. It's fun, especially when you find success with your education, your self-imposed education, might I add. But yeah, I just think that everybody should endeavor to learn, and you can never be too dumb. That's the worst thing, is I feel like you can never be too smart, and you can never be too dumb to learn. I don't feel like a lot of people are like this, by the way, I have to mention, but there are some individuals who think they're already smart enough and, you know, they're better than other people, or they're good enough for themselves for the standards imposed, and then they stop learning that too. They stop learning in general because they think they're good enough. And I think that nobody's ever good enough. I think wisdom and knowledge will always bring you further in life, even if it's just for your own mind and understanding of the universe, for life itself, for worlds, for humanity, for the stars, whatever you want to throw out there. I think it's always good for you to learn and educate yourself no matter the circumstance. Now, the other thing I have to mention, though, out of all of these things, is the great thing is we have the internet. We can learn literally anything we want. I never think you should feel discouraged by your circumstances. If you're watching this video, you have internet access, and therefore you can find any information to learn anything. So please, my people, play your hand and give it a go. I think you're very competent and capable at learning. I do not think you should feel like you cannot learn. I think it's a very, very healthy thing. And I think that when you stop, it takes a part of your soul as well as lets your mind kind of loosen itself so much so that it turns to putty. You know, it'll just turn to goo, basically. That sponge will eventually just dry out, become a little crusty ball and nothing. You know, you have to feed your mind. You have to feed your mind. And there's so many ways of feeding your mind, I have to admit, my people. There is not just one way. But when you stop trying to do new things, learn new things, it's a curse. You can never be too dumb nor too smart to learn. There's always going to be something for you to learn. So find it, find a passion to learn about anything, and then use that passion to drive yourself to learn more, because that's all it takes is one thing, and then you get the ball rolling, and then you're like, I want to learn this too. Oh, I want to learn how to do this, because then you find competence in your actions, and especially when you can use the knowledge that you've acquired. It's the most beautiful thing. I remember, it's kind of funny. I'm not very good at programming, but I know a basic compiler. So I learned a little bit about compilers and stuff when I was younger, learned a little bit about C++. Roommate's doing C++ for school, has a problem with his compiler or his program in the compiler, and I pointed out like that. There's just a little bit of a magic thing sometimes, and it assures me. That's what made me want to start learning again my C++. Just a little bit of knowledge I'd accrued, a little bit of knowledge here, and it made me want to go there, And listen, I'm not perfect, by no means. I personally think I'm an idiot, and I think that's going to serve me well. It's the concept of an inferiority complex, in a sense. I do not want to feel like I'm smart enough or good enough. And that might be able to be interpreted as the concept of, inferiority and victimhood, and I really don't want to think that way either. But I personally never want to think that I'm so smart or so competent as to think that I'm invincible or that I'm worthy of not learning. Because that's when I'll become unworthy of my power or my knowledge or my mind. That's when my mind will start to decay. So I'm very serious when I say, please, my people, no matter what your age, no matter what anything is told to you, whether you're stupid or, whether you're smart or whether you're young or you're old, always endeavor to learn. It's the number one piece of advice I can give you. It's so desperately important, and it provokes so many wonderful experiences in life and so many passions and so many beautiful things that you might otherwise not get to experience if you don't endeavor to learn. So, anyways, that was the video. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, my people. I don't know, tell me what you think in the comments below, basically. But that was the video. So, yeah. Hope it's been good, my dudes. Slater.